Why is Russia trying to starve the world? Nearly a year and a half into its invasion of Ukraine, after the massacre of civilians in the Kyiv suburb of Bucha, after the indiscriminate shelling of Europe's largest nuclear plant in Zaporizhzhia, and after the torture of countless Ukrainian POWs, Moscow's latest move may be its cruelest so far. In July, Russia pulled out of a landmark wartime deal brokered by Turkey and the United Nations that had allowed for 33 million tons of food to flow from Ukraine to countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. And soon after announcing their unilateral withdrawal from the Black Sea Grain Initiative, Russian forces engaged in strikes against the port of Odessa, destroying substantial grain stocks, while also inadvertently damaging the Chinese consulate there. Russian and Ukrainian grain exports have historically accounted for roughly 30% of global wheat and barley exports, a fifth of all maize, more than half of all sunflower oil. And thanks to the agreement, world food prices had declined by roughly 20%. Having said that, the disruptions aren't as problematic as they were at the beginning of the war. Now, some 50% of Ukrainian agricultural exports go through non-Black Sea routes, overland and by river, compared to only 10% before the war. And while Russian food exports are constrained by shipping challenges, much is still getting out. And Russian wheat, actually, has just had a record crop. The question remains, why is it in Moscow's interest to spike global food prices? What does it have to gain from exacerbating hunger in the global south? Many of the African nations likely to be hardest hit, like Ethiopia, have taken pains to remain neutral in the Ukraine war. But maybe Putin is losing patience. Russian officials have railed against international restrictions on the country's agricultural goods and fertilizer companies, on Russian ship access to foreign ports, and on being shut out of the global payment system SWIFT. Enough, Putin is saying, is enough. And more urgently, is Putin growing restless with the pace of war in Ukraine? Russia pulled out of the grain deal soon after its Kerch Bridge, which connects Russia and Crimea, was damaged in what they called a terrorist attack. Ukraine has not officially accepted responsibility, but it's widely understood that Ukrainian water-based drones were responsible. And while the long-awaited Ukrainian counteroffensive has yet to yield significant battlefield gains, there is no question that Russia's military is hurting. Why else would they announce that they're cracking down on draft dodgers and expanding the eligibility of its compulsory military service to, get this, 65? So what's a little global starvation, Putin may be thinking, if it hurts Ukraine too?